Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our great series that we've started. And today I'm so fortunate to have Jennifer C., another military spouse who has relocated several times. Her husband just got out of the Army, and which is great because it'll offer a great perspective as to the transition from military life into civilian life. So I want to welcome Jennifer.
Hi, Janet. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and insight with us today. First, I wanted to start with saying that Jennifer also has a blog on My San Antonio, and it's Military Mama, so please check her out on her blog. All right, the first question is, how many PCSs did you and your family do?
When we were with the Army, we did 3 PCSs in 10 years.
Okay, cool. And whereabouts did you go?
Well, our first PCS was actually when my husband was finishing medical school and we were reporting to our first duty station. So we were in New York, in Syracuse, and we drove cross country to Fort Lewis. Okay. Then we went from Fort Lewis, we went to Fort Hood, and then we went from Fort Hood and landed here at San Antonio. Okay. So that's where we still are.
Cool, cool. What was the most challenging PCS and why?
Well, definitely the moving with a 3-week-old, I think, from ending medical school and driving from New York State to Washington State was very, very challenging with a nursing baby.
Oh,
it was nursing every 2 hours.
Yeah.
Don't recommend that. But you're crazy. We didn't know any better. So it was just challenging, and especially dating myself. It was like before the internet and everything. So finding hotel rooms, we were looking up in telephone books and things like that. So it was hard to plan, but we're big planners. So I'm just a big believer when you PCS, plan it in advance. I'm not the kind of person that can just land in a town and find a hotel room. I need to know where I'm staying.
And that's super important because it makes it a lot easier too.
Especially with kids. I mean, if it's just the two of you, you can maybe do a little bit more, fly by night, spontaneous. But other than that, I highly recommend planning it all in advance. You have enough surprises when you're PCSing, and you just don't need any more surprises. At least I don't.
Yeah, exactly. Because it just adds to the stress level. So if you can plan again, it makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
Cool. How did you overcome that challenge? Do you have some tips for moving with a young infant? Because I know I've done it.
And then we moved kind of with 2 young kids with 2 cars. Our next one when we moved from Fort Lewis down to Texas, and that was a very, very long car trip as well. But as military people know, you've got to get your cars there. They don't really ship cars, unless you're going overseas. So that's a little bit of a challenge. Again, I'm just a true believer in planning everything. You can't overplan a PCS move. But you also at the same time have to be a little bit adaptable. For instance, when we were moving from Fort Lewis down to Texas, our movers called and they were ahead of schedule, which never happened. So they were going to be there 2 days earlier than we had planned. So we had to really reframe our whole trip on the fly during the trip. I say plan, but you also have to maybe plan for disaster and then just adapt to that.
Yeah, exactly. Be a little flexible because if there's something that can happen or change or whatever.
Yes, you have to go with it. I mean, there's nothing, it's out of your hands, so you just have to just kind of go with it.
Exactly.
Which is hard sometimes when you're in the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with the kids, because you get a little more stressed out when you're with your kids.
Absolutely. Especially young ones. It's hard.
Oh, yeah, babies. Ooh, yeah.
And there's just I've got to go potty, and you just gotten back on. You're just leaving the restaurant, and you're on the highway. You're like, really? I just asked you 5 minutes ago if you had to go. And you said no.
That's how we potty trained my middle son, because when we were moving from California to Nevada, we were telling him about, it was Nevada to Colorado. Good Lord, we've been moving too many times. Nevada to Colorado. He got to pee on the rocks, so that was a big thing for him.
That's a beauty.
So hey,
and you're a girl, a lot harder.
Yeah, exactly. So that worked out for us to our advantage.
Exactly. Yeah, you just desperate times call for desperate measures.
Exactly.
But another just a tip of advice I have really for anybody when you're moving with your kids is, I think if you make it stressful, it will be stressful for the kids, but we always try to frame it as, this is an adventure, we're going to have so much fun, and we try to really make it interesting and stop along the way and take some time. And my kids now look back on some of our road trips as some of their favorite family. They're like, it was the best vacation. Well, it really wasn't, but it was getting from point A to point B, but we kind of made it that way. I mean, you can either make it miserable or you can make it a fun memory. And so we just always kind of chose to make it a fun memory. And I mean, you just have, if you do that, then you get to the place that you're getting to and you have enough stress when you get there, unpacking a house and finding a dentist and, making new friends. So if you can make the journey fun, then it lessens the transition, I think, for everybody.
Definitely. We've done the same thing too, and it does make a big difference because then it sets the tone. If you set a positive tone and you kind of go with the flow, even though at times you may want to pull your hair out, but as long as you are steadfast and kind of have this positive notion, then the kids pick up on it, and then they think it's super fun to pee on rocks as they're moving from Nevada to Colorado, or look at this cool national park that we didn't even know was there.
Again, I know I kept saying you have to plan, but sometimes this might be something interesting you just want to pull off the road and go take a look at.
Exactly.
That wasn't part of your itinerary, and so.
Yeah.
If you just frame it like that, make it fun for the kids. Get them journals if they're old enough to write. Get them their own little, if you don't want to give them a digital camera if they're young, the throwaway cameras are great, and they can take their own pictures, and then they can feel kind of part of the trip.
Definitely. I'm a big proponent of the journal thing. Even when my little guy, my youngest is 4 years old, and we had him have his little book that he had that he could sketch stuff in, even though it was all scribble scrabble. But it was his little deal that made him feel excited and stuff like that, and make him feel like he was big, even though he was only 2. So,
and if all else fails, I just ply him with junk food.
Oh yeah. And they get to pick
to work every time.
You may eat McDonald's a little way too much, but they always seem to pick what you don't necessarily want to eat. But hey, if they're happy, they're happy. You're happy.
Then the whole car is happy.
Exactly.